It is 4:05. Janet's giving me the thumbs up. So we're going to go to the next slide, but I just want to say welcome everybody to the Innovator Programs webinar. You are in the right place at the right time. My name is LaCora Bradford Kesty. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Vice President of Community Impact here at the Women's Foundation. Here today, we have some amazing staff and some special guests that you will be hearing from. So I just want to introduce folks, just, give a little wave. But we got Janet Jimenez here, who's our Dr. Retha Clark King Fellow for this program work. And so she'll give a little bit more overview of the work that she's doing with this program. And then we have Hannah Elias, our amazing grants manager, who, if you need any technical support, okay, while you are applying for this program and getting in the back end, Hannah is your person to talk to, okay? And then we have Cam Flowers. I was going to say Florio. From Florio here today, and Naomi here today, who are going to be talking about the amazing work that they're going to be partnering with us doing and holding this conversation. So we're going to get started. So next slide. All right, so this is just a little webinar overview, okay? So we're gonna do a couple of things while we're here today, just a little housekeeping. Just make sure you take care of yourselves. Make sure you get your water, stay hydrated, stretch. This webinar is being recorded. So don't worry if you don't have what you need. We'll definitely be sending out the link today. But first, we want to just make sure that we share information about the Women's Foundation and our Young Women's Initiative, just so that you know what you're getting into and who you're working with. We want to also provide an overview of the Innovator program, so you have a little bit more information about that. We're also going to talk about the ins and the outs of the application components, the online web portal process, our timeline, and again, answer any questions that you all may have. So next slide. So the Women's Foundation of Minnesota. So this is just a high-level overview of the Women's Foundation's mission, vision, and values. And at the heart, right, of our work, we remain steadfast on transforming the futures for women, girls, and gender-expansive people. So our Young Women's Initiative, right, it's all about systems change, and it's a systems change model really grounded in the voices and the experiences of young women from 8 really specific communities. It stems from listening, going through the state, and asking young women themselves, hey, what are your hopes? What are your dreams? What are some of those barriers that you are standing in your way, right, as you live your day-to-day life? What are they? We want to know about it. We want to hear about it. And we want to make sure that we resource you so you can able to solve those problems and some of those barriers and knock them out your way, okay? And so not only do we ask, we also take action through our systems change work to increase access to equal opportunity and equity in outcomes. So as a potential Women's Foundation of Minnesota innovator, you and your projects are really talking about shifting those institutions, those laws, those policies by reframing those issues through our community relationships and movement building work. And now I'm gonna pass it over to Janet.
Thank you. So what is the Young Women's Initiative? So a little bit of a summary of what it is. It's a partnership with the governor's office. In 2016, we launched the Young Women's Initiative of Minnesota, which was a multi-million-year dollar investment that centers the leadership and solutions of young women of color, American Indian young women of Greater Minnesota, LGBTQ plus youth, and young women with disabilities. Through programs such as the Innovators, they work in ways to address the 20 recommendations that can be found in the Blueprint for Action. And this Blueprint for Action is a guide that innovators and other programs in the Young Women's Initiative can use to help them impact the issues that their communities are facing. So you can read more about this Blueprint for Action through the full report, which I will be sending in the chat real quick, but we can move on to the next slide. a little bit more about the Young Women's Initiative. So the action that came from the Blueprint for Action revealed that young women need three key elements to thrive. One being the building pathways to economic opportunity, which means that there are things such as ensuring access to education, training, and employment opportunities that can lead to financial independence and stability. Second is improving safety and well-being. And this is creating a secure environment that promotes physical, mental, emotional health, and emotional health free from violence, exploitation, and harm. The third goal from the Young Women's Initiative is to promote young women's leadership. This can look very different depending on the different approaches you can take, but essentially it is empowering young women to take on leadership roles, have a voice in decision-making processes, and actively participate in shaping their communities. And through these three goals, these three goals are interconnected and work together through the systems change model. By addressing these areas simultaneously, the goal is to transform the system and strengthen the overall ecosystem, creating an enabling environment that young women and their communities can truly flourish in. Next slide, please. And so I'll be speaking a little bit about the Innovators program. The program was launched in 2018 and targets young women between ages 16 and 24. It provides a one-time grant of $3,000 to participants to invest in their projects, ideas that they may have. The program aims to advance the key recommendations from the Young Women's Initiative of Minnesota Blueprint for Action. And some of the components that the program consists of are leadership development, one-on-one coaching, and mandatory convenings and trainings for participants. And so the overall goal of the program is it aims to empower and support the young individual by providing them with the financial assistance, leadership development opportunities, personalized coaching, and structured training sessions. The program goals is to equip these young women with the necessary skills, resources, and guidance to advance the recommendations outlined in the blueprint, which enhance will build pathways to economic opportunity, improving their safety and well-being, and promoting the young women's leadership as well. And we can go ahead and play this video, which will explain a little bit about some of the past participants from the Innovators program.
Might have to reshare with sound. We'll see.
Yeah, I think so.
Can you hear it?
No.
Okay. Hold on one moment. Sorry, everybody.
No apologies needed. We know about technology, okay? There we go.
Do you have bold ideas? Are you passionate about your community? And do you have a strong vision of the change you'd like to see happen in our state? Then we'd like to hear from you. As part of the Young Women's Initiative, the Women's Foundation of Minnesota is currently accepting applications for our new Innovator grants for young women and gender-expansive people. The program provides $2,500 in microgrants, individual coaching, and a year-long cohort that will strengthen your leadership and advocacy skills. We know that when young leaders like you thrive, everyone thrives. So what do you need to apply? Send your ideas in a video submission and tell us how you want to advance recommendations from the Young Women's Initiative's blueprint for action by building pathways to economic opportunity, improving safety and well-being, and promoting young women's leadership. Selections for the program are based on your project, your lived experiences, your passion and commitment to community building with gender and racial equity. Let's hear from one of our former innovators.
I believe that young women and girls can overcome harmful narratives by seeing individuals that look like them or having a support system that is a collective that they can lean in and on and fall back on almost. And for me, that was the young women's cohort that I had the ability to be a part of with the Women's Foundation of Minnesota.
Hilal Ibrahim, founder of H&H, used her Innovator grant to source materials for her handmade henna and hijabs, made by and for Muslim women like her. In 2019, Park Nicollet Methodist Hospital was the first to introduce Hilal and her line to their gift shop, and in 2021, Nordstrom was the first big retailer to carry her products nationally. How can $2,500 help you launch your leadership? The new Innovator Grant is an opportunity to turn your ideas into actions and be part of the change you want to see in communities across Minnesota. Tell us how this grant can advance your vision for justice. Create an account, submit a video or essay, and create a budget. Apply today to build on your solutions for a state where young leaders, our families, and our communities can thrive together.
Thank you, Hannah. We can go on to the next slide. Thank you. And so now I would like for to introduce the new program instructors for this year's Innovator cohort, and they can introduce themselves and share a little bit more about their program approach to the Innovators.
Hey everybody, salam alaikum to all my people. Super grateful to be here. My name's Cam. I am one of the founders of Floreo Labs, which is an innovation lab that I started with a good couple friends of mine a few years ago. Really to solve a big problem that we realized our communities didn't necessarily have all the resources necessary to learn and build businesses, especially businesses in the technology sector. Learning technology in and of itself is pretty difficult, but then learning business or learning how to launch a new initiative of any kind that needs data and using all of the modern tools at our disposal is pretty hard. And so what we set out to do with the lab was create a resource to allow for anybody that has a big idea to take that idea and shape it into a working project or product that they can take into their community. So when you think about what the Young Women's Initiative is trying to achieve and has achieved in many ways over the last few years, our goal is to make it so that we can actually coach and walk you through the steps. So even if you're not sure, how do I take this big idea that I have, or how do I even come up with a good idea for what I want to solve with my community, we can help you do that through educational materials as well as coaching and technology-based resources that are really designed for you to succeed and flourish. It was funny that I forgot who, I think Janet said it earlier, that the program's designed to help you flourish and see folks from your communities flourish. And our lab, Floreo, the word Floreo means flourish in Latin. So the whole purpose of our organization is really intently to support y'all in whatever your dreams are and helping you flourish within creation. And I'll turn it over to Naomi to speak more about how we do that through our accelerator program. And you can go to the next slide.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Cam. What we're about to embark on together is a program called the Lab Accelerator Program. Cam talked a little bit about what it is, but I'll go into more depth as to what you can expect to experience during our engagement together. So the Lab Accelerator Program, or as we like to call it, the LAP, was developed to help aspiring change makers like yourselves, everyone in this room, to start an idea but do it in a way that doesn't cost a lot of money or, take a lot of your time. Cam talked a little bit about how extensive and challenging it can be to get something off the ground, to turn an idea into a viable living solution in the world. And it's through this program that we teach the design thinking skills. So that's the business skills, the tech skills, and the design skills that are necessary in order to move your idea into an actual testable prototype. And, in order to do that, you have to learn how to connect with your audience, right? And there's all these scientific techniques that we teach into to help people really research and develop that idea from start to finish, or I should say from start to the next stage, because you're never really done when you're innovating and you're creating something that really impacts the environment and the community that you care about. I know there's a lot of text on the screen, but I'll try to make it a little clearer, right? During the course of the program, you'll see in this first box, we're going to work on skills to help everyone develop a business or an organizational model. And then identify your early adopters or your early stakeholders. Who are the people that you are building for and with, right? Who are the people who will be impacted by your solutions? Who are the people who are going to champion your solutions in the world, right? So we'll work on some of the design thinking techniques in order to identify those folks and start to build those models. And then you'll also be working your idea into, using that data, working your idea into a successful and testable prototype, which is essentially like your experiment, right? And so we'll talk about how do you go through the experiment phase when you're building out a solution. And throughout this process of, like I mentioned, learning these design, business, and tech skills, you'll also be learning and building skills in things like leadership, right? In order to usher an idea into the world, it takes quite a bit of leadership skills. So you'll develop those throughout our time together. You'll also be learning about very in-demand skills right now, things like project management, product development, marketing and communications, data analysis. And so our hope is that you walk away with an innovation process that you can repeat over and over again. And also you walk away with some technical skills that you can leverage with agency for really the rest of your career. And so with that, I'll leave a little space. Cam, if I forgot anything in going through the Lab Accelerator program, please feel free to chime in. And I just want to let everybody know that I want you all to apply, of course, and I'm really excited to work one-on-one with you to build out these ideas. It brings Cam and I a whole lot of joy to help people in just realizing these solutions for their communities.
I wouldn't say that you forgot anything, Naomi, but I will just add, we started this whole work because we are social entrepreneurs, change makers ourselves, big ideas. Naomi is a former educator. I'm a former artist and community organizer that found his way into technology. And so we realized there's a lot of problems in our communities that we wanted to solve in meaningful ways. And you look at it, all of these big solutions coming out of Silicon Valley for like self-driving cars and AI that lets you type whatever and get results, right? There's so many things that like we're seeing as solutions to problems that aren't really affecting the problems that affect our days and lives most times. And so why should we be left out in the conversation of what innovation looks like? Why should we be the ones on the sidelines while other people are building and getting all this money for things they're building that aren't really even solving big problems in our climate or in our communities, et cetera? And so we know how hard it is to really feel empowered to really take action in the ways that you might want to. But I think one of the beautiful things about the Young Women's Initiative, the Women's Foundation, as well as what we built within the lab is a safe space for you to explore how to take your creativity and curiosity for what a better world for yourself and your community can look like, and have a repeatable blueprint like Naomi just mentioned to get you to success. Super excited for everybody to join, and yeah, you can go on to the next slide and learn more about the program.
Thank you, Cam and Naomi, for that wonderful introduction and explanation of Florio Labs. I will talk about the 2024-2025 program focuses. In your project, the objective of the components of your project should further one of the key goals and address one or more of the focuses that come from the blueprint. And as we talked about earlier, there are the three goals, such as building pathways to economic opportunity. Goal 2 is improving safety and well-being for young women. And the third goal, which is in the next slide, and I will get to in a minute, is to promote young women's leadership. And what are the focus areas for this year's program? It is recommendations 5, 4, and 18 for goal 1, which is 1, enhancing career pathways. Recommendation 4 is building gender and community-oriented financial literacy and life skills. And recommendation 18 is increasing access to childcare. These are just some of the focuses that are listed under goal 1. But a couple of the project examples that could apply to this goal include projects that increase young women's enrolling in post-secondary education, entrepreneurship projects and or business ventures, projects that build childcare services and or assist with accessibility to services. A couple of examples from past innovators include Nichelle, who comes from Deer River, Minnesota. She's an innovator that created a babysitting group network in 2019, and trained young women in her community in the skills that they needed to become certified child care providers. This answered the need for trained and reliable childcare in her community, which was lacking at the time. And underneath Nichelle, we have Rochelle, which she comes from Plymouth, Minnesota, and was a returning innovator. And she invested her funding into her birth doula services, the Lotus Body work, by taking business and management courses to grow the capacity of her business in 2019. For goal 2, the focus areas will be recommendation 17, which is prevent violence through healthy relationships. Recommendation 15, which is increasing access to women's health care. And recommendation 16, which is increasing mental health support. A couple examples for this goal is improving the innovation to end gender-based violence, including sex trafficking, domestic violence, rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassments. Projects addressing mental health awareness, include type of mental illnesses and the importance of the treatments. Lastly, another example is the project supporting reproductive rights and increasing awareness through the reproductive health. And some innovators projects from past years, Anissa from Minnetonka, Minnesota, led a program in 2018 serving Somali young women and families through her nonprofit, Galaho, an organization that hosted community conversations about girls' empowerment, gender discrimination, and community building. Another project idea that comes from Tamika from Bemidji, Minnesota, address sexual health and community advocates, and attended the 16th Indian Nations Conference in 2018, which is hosted by the victims of crime on the reservations of Agua Caliente's border of Cahuilla Indians, to develop the leadership, deepen her ongoing work with Planned Parenthood, and help reshape the narrative of domestic violence in her Native community. And lastly, with the third goal in the next slide, please. There are the focus areas for Goal 3, which is promoting young women's leadership, can fall under the 3 recommendations listed in the screen, which is Recommendation 3, reframing harmful narratives. Recommendation 9, develop young women leaders. Recommendation 13, ensuring community space and conversation. And some examples for that are projects increasing your leadership skills, understanding your social issues to create solutions for gender and racial equity, community engagement efforts that drive greater participation in addressing climate change, project increasing public policy engagements such as voting, running for office, and other types of advocacy work. And a couple of innovators who focused their projects on this goal were Montana from Minneapolis, Minnesota. She created a dynamic research handbook in 2019 to distribute to state agencies so that they can create critical and relevant research that looked at the intersections of different identities in our state. Ariadne from Worthington used her grant money in 2019 to compete in her family, career, and community leadership of America competition, of which she created welcome kits for new students, and predominantly people who were of color and immigrants in her school. So these are all some of the examples that you can use when it comes to your projects and ideas that you may have, but they don't necessarily have to be these examples. You can create your own new projects as long as they are impacting either of the goals and can be addressed with any of the recommendations that were mentioned. You can go on to the next slide.
Thank you, Janet, for giving us the rundown of the goals and the outcomes and just some really powerful examples of all the great community work that's happening through this microgrant program. And so in the video, it was like, you get $25,000, $2,500. I wish I got $25,000. $2,500. We've increased the grant size this year for the first time ever in a while. And so the monetary investment that you will receive to support your program work is $3,000. Okay, and so again, it's an investment in the leadership, the ideas, the innovation, right, of you amazing young people, to really bring this blueprint for action work, the things that we heard directly from community around what was some of those barriers and the things that you really wanted to be focusing on. So that's why we have all of those goals, right? And those issue areas. For example, talking about economic opportunity, talking about safety, talking about leadership development. So we want all of those programs and those projects to really come to life. Next, so you have 12 months. The length of the time to use the funds are 12 months. So you'll start in August. So we'll be notifying folks before the summer ends, and you'll get your grant award. When you participate in this program, I want to make it very, very clear that there will be some convenings and there will be some coaching. And those things are really mandatory for participating in the program. We don't ask a lot of our participants, and the training and the learning pieces are so powerful, and you do it as a cohort. And so you're going to be learning alongside each other, supporting each other along the process. Project work isn't easy, and sometimes you need a friend. You need somebody to talk to, okay? And so we really want you to join and come to that, because when you come and you're a part of a cohort experience, it really does elevate the experience overall that you have, and you're part of a network then, okay? And when we say your network is your net worth, all right, y'all? So again, these are mandatory, these are in person, and if you need any type of accommodation, just please talk to us on the front end, because we'd love to know that on the front end, and we don't want this to be a barrier for folks, okay? So project reporting, You only got one thing to do, and we call it like a presentation of learning. You just get to talk about what you did. That's what we want to hear about. We want to learn about like what were all the woes, what were all the successes, what were some of the things that you were really excited about. And you get to do that in the form of a video at the end of your experience. We give you lots of time to do it. We give you support to do it. If you want, or you're like, how do I record something? Girl, don't worry. We got you. We got you. But you'll create a project presentation and then you get to present to your peers. And they get to learn about all the things that you did as well. So it's a fun experience at the end. We celebrate you. We got little gifts and all the things. We have some dope certificates that we create. So it's a powerful experience because you worked so hard. This is a 12 months, started in August, we finished this program. You deserve, okay? And we try to make sure that you know that you are celebrated at the end of this work. I just want to talk about some examples of some work, right? So start or continue to social change initiatives, design and pursue a personal learning plan, attend a conference, share your learnings with community impact, okay? Organize an event of some sort, you know, supply or resource something, research, okay? Travel as a part of a greater learning experience. All of those things are eligible and are valid, amazing, beautiful opportunities to do something. So don't let your one idea, don't let your limiting beliefs or that little person on your shoulder, I'm not good enough, I don't think that's going to be a good idea. Talk to staff. If you want to flush it out with us, let us know, but we got you, okay? We don't want this to be, again, a barrier to your amazing innovation that you have inside of you. Next slide, please. So we're talking about eligibility, which is really important. You know, we got to do some cross our T's, dot our I's a little bit. We must identify as a young woman or a gender expansive person between the ages of 16 and 24. You must reside and impact in Minnesota. So talk to us a little bit about that, okay? It's not, again, you heard we had people in Thief River Falls, we had people in Bemidji, we had people all across the state come together to be a part of this program. So let's not let distance be a barrier or a hindrance as well. We also really want to talk about priority given to those folks who identify in one of our 8 demographics, specifically Black, African American, African immigrant, American Indian, Hispanic, Latina, Asian Pacific Islander, LGBTQ+, folks with disabilities, and folks who reside in greater or rural Minnesota really do have some priority. Not to say that no one is important, but just to say that these communities specifically have barriers when we talk about accessing innovation, and we don't want any more barriers. And so we want to make sure that those folks get access and need as well. And also when we talk about citizenship, that's not required from the Women's Foundation. And again, our definition of a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman. And so this program really is meant to be really inclusive of our transgender folks and our gender non-conforming and gender non-binary and gender expansive communities. All right, that's eligibility. I hope it wasn't like, you know, sometimes we have this like tight, you gotta talk about all the things. We're really trying to make it really simple for folks. And again, if you have a question about your eligibility, just please let us know, okay? So let's talk about the selection, the application timeline, what that's gonna look like, because those things are really important. So our selection of our amazing innovators will be based on applicants' ability to identify their voice, their lived experiences, demonstrate a commitment to community building and leadership. This means completing the application and meeting the YWI Minnesota goals, okay? So Janet really talked about that. Make sure that's really explicitly clear. Make sure I read a lot of the applications every single year. And one of the things that I can tell you is if you can talk about it, then you can write about it. And that will continue to convey in the application. And it'll be super powerful. So talk it through, write it out, and get it to us because I think it's going to be an amazing experience. Also, we use a review panel of young women from the community, again, women from those 8 different demographics that I talked about. They will be reviewing your applications alongside of myself and our participatory grant making committees and stakeholder members. So these young folks get these applications and they read them and we have a conversation about it. And so the panel will review the grant proposals and they will recommend awards for the applicants that best represent the mission, goals, and values of the Young Women's Initiative work. Okay, so applicants again will be notified in August 2024. And now I'm gonna pass it over to a voice we haven't heard yet. Hannah is gonna talk about how to apply, what it looks like on the back end, what you're gonna see, okay? So we're gonna pass it on over.
Thank you, LaCora, and thank you to LaCora and Janet for your amazing voices in this conversation so far. Just double checking, can everybody hear me okay? Yes, all right. So as LaCora said, I'm going to speak to the application itself and how we'd like for you to apply to be an innovator. The application consists of either a video or written response submission and completion of an online form submitted through the Women's Foundation of Minnesota's grant portal. So first and foremost, all applications must be submitted online through the grant portal. And I'm going to go more in depth on the grant portal in a couple of slides. First, we're really going to dive a little more into the application itself. There is a copy of the application on our website. And within that application, there is a preview worksheet, and you can use that preview worksheet to essentially preview the application and draft your application answers. The application is divided into 3 components. You have A, which is the applicant's information and project information, B, which is the project proposal narrative, and C, which is the project budget and optional items that you can upload to help describe your project. Again, you can preview all of these components within the preview worksheet. And then back to the portal real quick, you're also going to want to create an account in the portal if you don't already have one. And we really strongly recommend that you do not wait until the last minute to create an account and fill out the application online. And we'll get more into that in the following slide. But first, we have component 1. Component A, whatever you want to call it, which is our applicant and project information. So this is the first component, and it's basically, we're basically just asking for some basic personal information about you as the applicant. And we also would like to know a few things about your proposed project. So we are looking for a name and a general timeline. And then you will also have an opportunity to tell us which blueprint for action recommendations your project is addressing. An important note here that Janet already covered a little bit is you can only select one goal that your project is addressing, but then once you select that goal, you can select as many recommendations associated with that goal as you'd like. So you're not limited to the amount of recommendations that you are addressing with your project. The second component of our application is the project proposal narrative. So this is kind of the meat of the application. We're asking you to answer a series of what we're calling project proposal narrative questions. And we're also offering you 2 different ways to submit this information. Like LaCora was kind of talking about, if you can talk it out and you like talking things out and describing it that way, then option 1 might be the option for you, which is video submission. We ask that you created a video in which you answer those aforementioned questions, and then you upload it to a Dropbox link that is in the application. You won't be judged on the technical quality of the video, but we do need the audio and visual quality to be understandable. And we ask that you address all the narrative questions. If you are kind of more like me, I am an internal processor and like to write things out. Excuse me. Option 2 might be better for you, which is essay submission. So you can answer those project proposal narrative questions in essay form within the online application itself. For each question, we're asking for 1 to 2 paragraphs for an answer, or about a maximum of 300 words per question. And again, we want to reiterate that answers to each question are required to complete the application. And again, that applies to both the video submission and essay submission option. All questions should be answered. And speaking of the questions, this is a preview of the questions that we'll ask you to answer. The main questions are in bold, and then we've got these bullet points, and they're basically just kind of guideposts of what we would like you to address in order to answer those main questions in bold. Again, all of this can be found in that preview worksheet. And then our third and final component for the application is a section where you can upload optional items to help describe what your proposed project is. For example, you can upload your resume. If you were talking, like if you go back to what Laura was saying and you want to host an event or a conference, you can provide us with an informational brochure or other document about the gathering or event. Really anything that just kind of adds, we want to add some zhuzh to your application. So we also have a link within the online application that is a basic project budget template, which you can use to lay out how you'd like to plan to use the funds awarded to you. The project budget template is it's optional. It is not required. We want to give you the opportunity to show how you would plan to use the grant expenses, and we also recognize that projects are fluid. So the template you can kind of view like an exercise to help you plan. And as we've talked about, if you are selected to be an innovator, you will be able to meet with a coach, and they will provide you some support on how to best leverage the funds you execute for your project. And all expenses should add up to the grant amount of $3,000. Well, that's the application. And now, as I should take a breath. I don't usually talk this much. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about accessing the actual application in our online grant portal. A few notes on the portal. As mentioned earlier, we really strongly would love it if you created an account as early as possible, essentially before any applicant can have access to the portal and any open grant applications. A WFM staff member, 90% of the time me, I have to go in and review and approve the potential accounts. So after you finish registering, it will still take about 1 to 2 business days before you can actually access the portal and the Innovator application. So we, again, strongly suggest creating an account as soon as possible. We also recommend using Google Chrome or Firefox as your browser when using the portal to avoid any technical errors. When you head to the registration link, it's noted on this slide here. You'll see a website page that looks like the image on the right. You will fill out your account information. So you're going to give your name, full name, and then your email address, which is going to be your login, like your login name, as well as creating a password. And then it's going to ask you to select a type of portal access. And I won't go into the boring details, but essentially what you'll want to do is select that individual applicant portal access check mark box because you're applying for this grant on behalf of you as an individual. And you're not going to, I know it's a little confusing, you won't select grant applicant because that's actually just for organizations applying on behalf of the organization. So once you check that individual applicant box, this second kind of box of information, that's personal contact information, will appear, and you can fill all of that out. And once that's all filled out, you will select that little box that says I accept the terms and conditions, and then you will select register. So you will know you've successfully registered when your portal home screen looks like this, and you'll see that there is a message about waiting that 1 to 2 business days so we can actually process the registration request. And you will know when the registration request has been processed because 1, I will reach out to you and let you know. And then when you log in again, you will see that there are portal menus on the right corner upper side of the screen. and you will be able to access other things, and it won't just be a page that says this web portal message. Then, once you have access to the portal and I've approved everything, you can go find the online application. So you'll go into the login page, you'll log in using those credentials you created with your email and your password, and then you will get to the home screen and you'll navigate to the drop-down menu in the top right corner of the page that's labeled individual applicant. And then from that drop-down menu, there are two different ways to navigate to two different pages that will have a link to that actual Innovator application. So you can either select that home option at the very top, and that'll take you to the individual applicant homepage. On there, there is a little box that says featured, and that has all the featured open grant applications, and the link to the Innovator app will be there. Or you can do that second option of available grants. That's going to take you to a different page that has just a list of all grant applications that are open and available for application. And you can find the Innovator application on there as well and go from there. Both, I mean, I know I just talked a lot about a portal. It should feel pretty simple, but if it doesn't, I am, as LaCora said, always here to answer any questions about what you might be dealing with in the portal. And with that, I think I hand it back to LaCora.
Yes, thank you, Hannah. I really appreciate having your voice in this space. So to wrap us up, again, make sure that you start your application soon because it does take a minute to get you registered into the portal. So don't wait till last minute, okay, y'all? Complete the application. It must be submitted by June 24th by 11:59 p.m. Again, please make sure all materials are completed and ready to submit before submitting your application online. So just as a reminder, Chrome, Firefox, we ran into some snafus at the end, okay? And our office hours were pretty much done by 5 o'clock every day. So if you waited at the end, it's really tight, okay? Again, if you have any issues accessing the grant portal, please email Hannah Elias, our amazing grants manager. Hannah is so responsive, all right? And then again, we have our program-related questions. Please message or email Janet Jimenez, our fellow and program manager. So now, if you have any questions, me and the team, we will try to do our best to answer them. Thank you for being here today.
I do have a question. So I can check all of the boxes in terms of eligibility except for age. I'm a woman of a particular age. I'm not really sure how I got this information and signed up for this webinar, but the information was great, and I was sure to take detailed notes for folks that do fall into that age group so I can pass the information along. But I'm curious if there's anything that exists like this for folks who are over the age of 24.
Not at the moment. We do have a partnership with NDC, the Neighborhood Development Center. That's who we're working with to do some more of our entrepreneurship programming through. And it's called the Pre-Block program. And so if you drop your email in here, we can get you some more information on that. But that is our opportunity for like 25 and older.
I'd also say Naomi and I are open to supporting you at whatever age you are at in your life journey too. So definitely feel free to connect with us if you have like a passion project or idea, or you're just interested in kind of going through the stages of innovation management and entrepreneurship kind of conversation. We'd be happy to help you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You see a hand up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for your time and coming to talk about this wonderful grant. I honestly don't know how I got this information, but I do work with young women and young adults. As you can tell, I'm from the Hmong community, and I actually have a young Hmong girl that I'm working with. She has a brother who has a disability, and she wants to pave a different way to help him start. So she doesn't want to start a business, but she wants to help her brother start a business because she knows that he's not the type that will go to college and have a college degree and go to work. So I don't know if this is something that she could use. Again, it's not for her, but she's creating that opportunity in that space for a sibling that has a disability. So before I pass it to her, I wanted to, clarify to kind of look at some of the requirement. I know it seems like it's really broad, but I don't want to pass something along when it's not going to fit.
Yeah, so the only thing, so it's great that she wants to work and support her family members. We've had projects where the Innovator has had programming that had many different identities inside of it. So that's not a problem, but she would need to be the anchor and be the one who applies and who shows up to the training and who is writing the application on behalf of talking about how she would use the dollars to support XYZ project or opportunity for others. And so we just need the person to identify a certain way. The project of how they hold people is very open though. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically she would be applying, but then she would use the grant money to help,
Yeah, to talk about
because
her
that's
project of how she would support folks with
right,
disabilities, her brother being one of those folks, and
right,
understanding the needs and XYZ. Does that make sense?
right. Yep, that makes
Yep.
sense. And you answered my question. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And just really quick, I put it in the chat, but is the recording saved somewhere where I can forward her the information of the recording?
Yeah. So if you registered for this, all registered people will get the recording.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. These are great questions. Well, seeing no more.
Sorry, I actually just had one quick question as well.
Oh, I can't see you.
Oh, I know. Here,
Oh,
I can put on my video. You'll just have my company in the
oh,
background.
no, you're fine.
Sorry. I was just wondering with like a video submission or even the essay submission, how fleshed out would you like the project in mind to be? Because I know there's like a lot of questions that we have to answer kind of about ourselves, about our community, and then the project as well. And putting all of that in 3 minutes, I'm just trying to think of like what should be kind of the most important part. So if you could just shed some light on that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would say it's, when we've had video submissions, folks have used like PowerPoint slides to really help guide them through the conversation, or they've had like themselves speaking and then like whatever the question was, like up to, I don't even know how young people do this stuff. And so we really want to get a sense of, you have like a 30-second elevator pitch of who you are, but then really focus on the project itself. Because folks will be like, okay, great. We have most of the information through the application, right? Like name and where and all of that stuff. So if you really want to focus your time, I would focus your time on your project, and the work that you want to be doing and who you want to be serving.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. And if folks want to drop off who've asked their questions, feel free. You don't have to stay on. And I think we can stop recording. in case there's, because I think,
Thank you. Have a great day.
yeah. I can't see.
I believe it's just us now.
Oh, perfect.
I don't
Okay,
know
can
how
we
to
stop
recording
record?
though.
I'm not the host.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing this.